Welcome to the Sports Forecasters Podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. This podcast has been created not to dwell and over-evaluate what has already happened in the sports world, but to predict and to forecast what has yet to come. From game picks to draft picks, and from trades to free agent signings, we will let you know what happens before it happens. Your hosts, Nick and Nate, will evaluate, study, and understand sports patterns, tendencies, and nuances to better prepare you on what to expect. Just like weathermen, but way more accurate. So if you like to pick games or you simply just want to be in the know before anybody else, you are in the right place. Enjoy the show.
What's up, everyone? This is the Sports Forecasters Podcast, and my first forecast is Watson going to the Dolphins by the end of this week. If it hasn't happened already by the time you're listening to this. Nick, do you have a crazy random forecast you want to give the listeners?
No crazy forecast for me. Hopefully there will be some movement from teams that are in need of different positions, namely Chiefs that we've been low on with their defensive struggles, and then other teams that maybe don't have the answers in certain positions that they thought they did or the depth they thought they did. Next few weeks should be interesting. I think teams are going to be more aggressive than we've seen in the past, or that's always the hope coming into it. But we have other things we need to look at, Nathan. What are we looking at first?
We got basketball has officially started this week in the NBA. It's exciting, as always, because I think there's a lot of, I don't know if parody is the right word, but there's just a lot going on. I mean, you got the Ben Simmons situation in Philadelphia, you got the Kyrie situation in Brooklyn, you got the old men all-star team in Los Angeles. So I just think you got a lot of new faces and new places and a lot of drama, and I love it. So that's tipped off. So we're gonna actually just start right there because we have a new season and a new sport. So you know what that means? We got forecasts for you. So Nick and I, we're going to run through this NBA season. We're going to give you our 1 through 8 seeds in each conference. And then who we got way too early pick for the NBA championship game. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Well, let's start with the East because, we're in the East. And the East is, I think, stayed fairly the same. I think there are a couple of new faces in different places, especially, in Chicago, per se. But let's start at number 8 and work our way up. We'll just go back and forth. So let me start. I'm going to start with the team that's nearby here, a little west in Indiana. I'm going to go with the Pacers here. It's a team that was in the play-in conversation last year. I think this team has talent. And a lot of good talent. I think they made the right move and got a Rick Carlisle, who I think is a very fantastic coach. And I think he's going to be able to at least elevate this team a couple seeds and not have to worry about a 9 or a 10 seed trying to play into the tournament. They might still have to play in that tournament, but I think they're going to be at an 8 seed at the end of the day. And hopefully be able to make the playoff. So that's who I got at number 8. Who do you have?
No disagreement here. I think Indiana will show some promise. Like you said, make some moves. Had a coaching hiring. I have them at number 8 as well. They'll have to play their way into the official playoffs, but I have them at number 8. Moving on to number 7, I have the New York Knicks, a team that for you and I underwhelmed when it came to the playoff time, but coming into the playoffs, we were impressed with what they did. I think they take a few steps back from that 5 seed that they had last season, and they just get the 7th seed where they have to play their way into it. I have them at 7 seed. They still have that presence of managing games well throughout the season, but end up ultimately being a 7th seed. What do you have, Nathan?
The Philadelphia 76ers. I think this Ben Simmons thing is going to actually drag on because at this point, Ben Simmons has showed everybody who he truly is. And the 76ers have shown they're not just going to just trade, just get nothing for him and their asking prices is steep. And at this point, it's like they'd be lucky to get a second rounder for Ben Simmons, I feel like. And so I just think this is going to drag on, and this is going to tear this team down. And I think in the long run, it's just going to really hurt this team. They're going to lose their mojo and their motivation. And this is going to be a distraction. Maybe 7's a little too low, but either if he doesn't play or if he does play, I think it's going to be a gap that they have on that team regardless. And I just think you're going to see a very up and down season in a conference that I think has gained a lot of great talent. So it's not an easy conference anymore. So I got the 76ers there, maybe a little too low, but I'm going to stick with it. Number 6, I got what you had at 7. I got the Knicks. I think adding Kemba Walker to this team was a really good move for them. Originally it was Derrick Rose, who I think obviously has resurrected his career with Tom Thibodeau. But adding that Kemba Walker, I think, is a really, really good move with Derrick Rose as that backup point guard. It's a really strong backcourt there. I think you're going to see the likes of R.J. Barrett and Obi Toppin start to maybe get a feel for what their role is on that team. And then, of course, they've got Randall still on that team. I just think this is a team that, I think they got a little lucky last year, and I don't have them up at 4, but I think you're going to look at them and be like, you know what, they're still a really good team, but I think the East is just a lot better this year than it was last year. And so I think they're going to drop to a 6 seed, but I don't think that's because they got any worse. I think they're actually going to look better than they did last year, but it's a tough conference. Who do you have at 6?
So I have number 6, the Atlanta Hawks. Last season they were the Cinderella story, making it all the way to the conference finals and then coming up short in the end. I think they do well this season. I think, like you said, the East is going to be very competitive. They'll be in that mix, but I just have them in the number 6 spot. Feel safe having them there. Number 5, I actually have the 76ers here. I don't have them slipping quite as far as you do, but I do feel like it's going to be tumultuous, and there's going to be just some things for them to have to overcome and just make their way through with this whole mess going on. But I think Embiid keeps the ship right just enough to eke out a 5th seed. Who do you have for the 5th seed?
Yeah, you're probably a little bit more accurate there, but I'm gonna stick with my 7th seed. My 5th seed, I have the Miami Heat. Adding Kyle Lowry to this team, I think, is good. Tyler Hero, who was quite the disappointment last year, appears to be getting his mojo back. So I think you're going to see a deeper Heat team that, along with that leadership of Kyle Lowry. You're just going to see a much more consistent Heat team and deeper. Like I said, that is going to be a tough team to contend with day in and day out because they're going to play their butts off. Talent-wise, they're not going to be the most talented team by any stretch, but because of the leadership and the depth and the hard work, I think they're able to get that sort of about around a 5th seed there. Number 4, I got the Atlanta Hawks, so I got them a little higher than you do. I love this team. I love the direction they're going. I love the players they have. I love the draft that they had, and I love their coach. This is my secret favorite team in the league this year. Like if the Hawks are playing, I'm watching them. They're just a great watch. Trae Young is a great watch. John Collins is a great watch. That dude can fly. They have my favorite coach in the league, in Nate McMillan, the most underrated coach in the NBA by far. We talked last year. It's like if there's a sneaky team that makes the conference finals, Atlanta Hawks, and it happened. I don't think they're a secret anymore. I don't think they're going to be a sneaky team. They're going to be for real. And I like this team a lot, so I got them at 4.
My number 4 pick is a team that always seems to be old reliable in terms of doing well during the regular season, and then it just doesn't quite come together how we think it's going to, or how many fans in that area hope it's going to, and it's the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics does well in the regular season. We'll see if Stevens is doing well in the front office to kind of keep things situated for them. Celtics are at number 4 for me. Number 3, I actually have the Miami Heat here. That Lowry maneuver, I think, is going to do quite a bit for them. I don't know how that translates for playoffs, but I think in the regular season that's going to translate to better win percentages, so they'll be in the number 3 spot for me. Who do you have for the number 3, Nathan?
I have the Chicago Bulls at number 3. This is going to be the biggest surprise team. Well, I don't know if it's going to be a surprise because a lot of people are on the bandwagon, but the moves that they made, Lonzo Ball looks great. They got DeMar DeRozan. They got Vujacic. They've got Veen. He's still there. Donovan, their coach, a great coach everywhere he's gone. And I just think this team is just, they're going to have so much fun together. I really do. I think this team is really excited about who they are. I think Chicago is going to rally around them. Chicago just won the WNBA championship. So basketball championship is back in that town. And I think it's going to translate to the Bulls, especially this new look Bulls team. I like this team a lot. I got them at the number 3 seed. Jumping up now to my number 2 seed, I've got the Brooklyn Nets. Probably would have been my clear favorite number 1 team if it wasn't for the Kyrie situation. But they're still a great team without Kyrie. I think Patty Mills will do well. Maybe if he continues to go off the bench, I think he's going to be a great 6-man for them. Off the air, you predicted a potential 6-man of the year, and that's a really great forecast there. I still think they're going to hold their ground because they're just way too talented to drop below a 3 or 4 seed. So I got the Nets at 2.
For my number 2 spot, I have the Nets as well. Like you said, with Kyrie not being in that mix, it just makes it hard to put them ahead of who I would assume we both have. I have the Milwaukee Bucks being number 1. They have everything back. I think everything's going to keep going, and Giannis looked really good on his first game. I know it's only 1 game, but he looked like he was, we said before the show started, how he fixed a lot of things or looked a lot better in some things. So I have the Bucks number 1. I don't know anyone in the East that's going to be able to contend with them in terms of their win totals. What do you have, Nathan?
I got the Bucks at 1, and I've been a Bucks doubter. I said last year, I think the only reason they won the NBA championship because they're the only team that actually stayed healthy. And I kind of still believe that to this day. I think the Nets probably, if KD's foot was just a couple inches back, they would have been in it. And like I said, I probably would have the Nets up here if it was for the Kyrie situation. I watched some preseason ball, and I even watched that first game on Tuesday. Giannis can shoot the ball. That dude improved a ton. And I know he was super athletic, a freak athlete. But I always feared about his shooting. His free throws look great. He made 3-pointers, and his shot just looks better. It's a much quicker release. It's a much smoother release. It's not perfect, but there's been a lot of people that have proven that they can fix their shot quickly. I mean, Lonzo Ball, look at him. He's looking way better. Even LeBron James, he wasn't the best shooter coming to the league, but now, he's in his late 30s, and he had to learn how to shoot from beyond the arc because the game changed that way, and he's, his body just needs to be able to do that. Giannis learned from the best, and he's doing that, and this guy looks great. I think this roster is so deep. It's so strong. But most importantly, they're very humbled. This team is not a team that just gets too big of themselves. They keep themselves grounded, they keep themselves humbled, and I really think actually Milwaukee tears up the East this year. And I think they claim that first spot, and they don't ever look back. I just don't think any team ever is going to take over that 1 seed the entire regular season. As long as they stay healthy, I love this team a lot. And like I said, I got them from the Nets just because of the Kyrie situation. But that's where I got it, and I will have to make a correction. Like I said, Lamar Jackson, when I was making my little comparisons, Lamar Jackson was the Russell Westbrook. Maybe the old Lamar Jackson was, but if you haven't seen Lamar Jackson lately, that guy has improved his throwing very much so. He's a pocket passer now. He is top 5 in the league in yards per pass. His completion percentage is up. He's making smarter decisions within the pocket. He's making more passes within the pocket. Lamar Jackson has improved tremendously as a pocket passer, and he still can run. So that's very, very scary. I was wrong about him. I was right about him, but he improved where he needed to improve. and now he's scary. And Giannis is his comp now. Like, crazy stat, crazy athlete, man amongst boys on the field. But the one thing that he really needed to improve was his shot. And he did. So, Lamar Jackson, you're Giannis. You're not Russell Westbrook. You're Giannis. So, I'm sorry for that terrible comparison. So, let's jump to the West without further ado. How about you get us started on this one?
The team I have at number 8 is a team I have a lot of uncertainty about. They may not even be number 8. They may not even be top 10. It just depends how they rebound from this, pun intended, with basketball. Anyways, with Kawhi, they only miss him for a few games here and there by choice, usually, typically speaking. But with him potentially missing the whole season, I have the Clippers at number 8. Just unsure of what this team will look like. They could prove me wrong. They could be like the 76ers where you and I have them in different spots, but number 8 is about the highest I'm feeling comfortable with them. Who do you have, Nathan?
Yeah, I'm gonna put the Portland Trailblazers here at number 8. New coach, and Chauncey Billups. Not really sure how well he's going to do. I think he'll eventually do well, but he's just a rookie coach. This is just a team that is not very deep. It's just very Damian Lillard heavy. I think they're going to be a very up and down team. They're going to show flashes of greatness, but I just don't think the West is as strong as it used to be. So I think they're going to be good enough to sneak into playoffs, but I have them at number 8. At number 7, this might be a little bit of a shock, but I have the Mavericks coming in at 7. I think they're going to take a dip. Once again, new coach, not a rookie coach, but a new coach. And Jason Kidd, he's had a stint as a head coach, not very successful. I think it's just going to him try to figure things out a bit. You know, I think Rick Carlisle did very, very well there. I think he was part of the reason why they maybe were a 5 or 6 seed, but I think they're going to dip a bit. But Lucas will still be outstanding. Who do you have?
For my number 7, I have the team you just previously mentioned in the Portland Trail Blazers. I have them at number 7 simply because if the Clippers are going to be anywhere, they're going to be towards the bottom. So I have the Clippers at the bottom. So I have the Trailblazers at number 7 simply because I believe they'll do better than the Clippers. And then jumping to my number 6, I have the Golden State Warriors. Last year they were in the play-in tournament and went up against Lakers and fell short against them. I think this time they get themselves into a secure spot of the playoffs and do not need to worry about the play-in tournament this time around. Who do you have for your number 6, Nathan?
For my number 6, I'm gonna do the Clippers as well here. Not quite as low as you. Just a team with a lot of question marks. Like you talked with Kawhi Leonard, I just still think Ty Lue. There's question marks there, so it's just a team that I'm just not fully confident in. And plus, Lakers belong to LA, not the Clippers. I have them here at 6, jumping up to 5. As long as they stay healthy, I got the Warriors here. If Clay can play, if Steph, and obviously Draymond and everyone there. So I think if they can stay healthy, they can do well. Maybe even jump up a little bit. But I'm going to play it safe here. I'm going to put Golden State at 5. We'll see what happens. Who do you have?
It seems like our bottom 4 agree. We just don't have the same order. I have the Mavericks here at number 5. I know you already mentioned them. Luka seems to put up good numbers. Last season, they fell into an early hole and had to really battle themselves out of that hole. Hopefully this season they get things smoothed out and it starts off a bit better than what it did. So I have them at the number 5 spot for this upcoming season. Moving up to number 4, I have last year's finals participant, which I do believe they received the good fortune of being the healthiest team coming down the stretch in the Phoenix Suns. I don't think they ascend to number 1, but I do have them at number 4. They do have good things going on there. I just think ultimately they end up at number 4. Who do you have for number 4, Nathan?
For number 4, I've got the Lake Show. I think this is a team that actually will be well below number 4 in the standings for the first third to the first half of the season. You've got a lot of former All-Stars. You're really trying to piece. You're totally rehauling that roster, and you're trying to piece things together. But it's a roster full of former number 1 options on teams. Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, Anthony Davis. All these players were the number one guy, and now some of them have to be the number 4 guy, number 5 guy. So I think learning their roles is going to be tough. So I think they're going to take a while, but eventually they're going to figure it out towards the end of the year and kind of work their way up and eventually be number 4 seed. Number 3, I got the Utah Jazz. I think this is one of the best coach teams in the league. Talent-wise, I'm not sold. I think they have a lot of depth on it, but top-tier talent, like all-star talent, I'm not sold on Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. He's great, but I think there's other centers in this league I'd rather have, especially in the offensive end. So I just think this Quinn Snyder just coaches the heck out of them, and that's why they're going to do well this year. Who do you got?
For my number 3, I have the Denver Nuggets. I liked a lot of the things they did. I just think the other teams that I have towards the top, it's going to be a lot of jostling. It's going to be close. And I just think ultimately they just fall to number 3. Not a real great reason. They're going to be a great team. It's just the jostling and everything going on. I think the Denver Nuggets end up number 3 by the end of the regular season. And then for my number 2 is actually the Los Angeles Lakers. They're not going to put themselves out there to be the number 1 seed. They're going to rest here and there and everything like that. But ultimately, they know they don't want to fall below number 3. So you pick, and then at number 3 would be the spot I would have them at, if not at number 2. But I'm going to keep them at number 2 simply because they want the road to go through Los Angeles. They want to have the home court advantage. They're just not going to do enough to be the number 1 seed. Who do you have for number 2, Nathan?
I got Phoenix at 2. Monty Williams, I think, is a great coach. And they were, obviously did very well last year. I think you're just gonna get the same Suns team this year as you got last year. Watch out for the DeAndre Ayton situation. Contract negotiations have kind of stalled. Could be a distraction. But ultimately, I think with the Chris Paul leadership and the all-star ability by Devin Booker, just a team that's going to be near the top, and I got them ultimately finishing number 2. And number 1, I've got the Denver Nuggets. This is a team that I've always loved. I'm a big Murray fan, Jamal Murray fan, a point guard, Jokic, former reigning MVP in the league. Mike Malone is a very excellent coach, and they got Aaron Gordon in a trade last season, which I think is a huge addition. Michael Porter Jr. gets better every single year. They've got a great bench. This is just a team that I think the last couple of years they're just like, oh, they're almost there. They're almost there. My money's on this team. I think that's finally their year. Jamal Murray injury last year just killed them. But he's back. So they need him desperately. So I think they stay healthy. I got the Nuggets taking the number 1 seed.
And for my number 1 seed, I have the Utah Jazz. Simply put, I think they do really well in the regular season. They have just a good roster to just take care of games day in and day out or throughout the 82 games. But ultimately, I don't know that will translate to postseason success. But we're just doing regular season standings, and I believe they'll end up being the number 1 seed again this season in the Utah Jazz. Now we're going to look at who do we think is going to be the NBA champion. Nathan, who do you have as your NBA champion for the 2022 NBA season?
Yeah, I know this never happens, but I actually have the 2 number 1 seeds going into the championship. I think just because it's super early and I don't know who's going to be hot towards the championship, I'm just going to pick who I think is going to be the 2 best teams in each conference to make it. So I got the Milwaukee Bucks facing the Denver Nuggets. If you would have asked me, a month ago who was in, I would have told you the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers. Brooklyn, the Kyrie situation, I think is going to hurt them. With the Lakers, I think they're just... I thought about this a lot. I just think they're really going to struggle finding an identity with the kind of roster that they have. I just think there's a lot of teams like the Nuggets and the Suns and the Jazz and the Mavericks, just young teams that are hungry for a championship that will ultimately... And plus, I think Lakers are going to struggle with injury issues as well down the stretch. So I got Bucks. I got Nuggets. This is tough. It's hard to go back-to-back, but... Man, I think it's so cliche to pick the Bucks again, but they look so good, man. And Giannis looks better. Everyone looks better. They're so humble. They're so down to earth. Um, I got to pick him again. I have to. I just think this is a scary team this year. They're going to be scarier than they were last year. I got to pick the Bucks.
Yep, and there's nothing wrong with that. It looks like to be a safe bet early on into this NBA season. For me, I don't have the Jazz or the Lakers ended up winning the West. It just Jazz, like I said, when I said they were number one, they will do very well in the regular season, but I just think when it comes to playoff time, they just don't put it together as much or as often against the higher caliber teams. Lakers, like you've said, question marks about the age and the ability to keep it together and just their rosters being put together. Yes, I know LeBron has done it before where he's put rosters together and within a season he gets it to work well, but I don't think that's an order he can overcome or something that he can make happen quite as well. So for me, it's going to be the Nuggets or Suns that end up making it to the finals, and I'm going to go with the Suns just for the parity's sake, not because I don't think the Nuggets could do it. I really do feel better about the Nuggets, but so I have Nuggets and Suns in the end being those two teams. I'm flip flopping with the West. I'll say the Suns end up going just to be different from the Nuggets, but I do have the Bucks in the East winning, just with the Nets missing their piece. I just don't see them putting together. I mean, if James Harden was more of a grinder, maybe I'd feel more comfortable thinking the Nets could do it. But without that extra star on the roster or that one player that's like going to grind it out for you, like going to be that difference maker for you on the defensive side, I just don't see the Nets getting past the Bucks. So I have the Bucks in the East making it, beating the Suns again. Now let's move on to our NFL picks. We're in the week 7 now, and NFL season is rocking along. The bye weeks are coming and wreaking havoc for fantasy players all over, but gives you reprieve from heartache if your team's on a bye week, or hopefulness of what could be if your team finished well last week and has that bye week going on. But before we get to the NFL picks, let's look at the Saturday night football game, and it's a Big Ten matchup. We have number 5 Ohio State going to Indiana. Right now, Nathan, my spread says minus 21 in favor of the Buckeyes, and the over-under's at 60.5. What are you looking at for this game?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the spread. I'm picking the Buckeyes. IU hasn't looked good at all. Ohio State has looked fantastic. Their defense has been shaping up. CJ Stroud looks amazing. That offense is clicking. I'm afraid to pick the over here because IU's offense has been pretty lethargic and Ohio State's defense has been improved. So I'm just afraid this could be like a 42-7 game, 42-14 game, and not quite get to the 60. If it's going to be a 42-7, 42-14, I like my plus 21 or my minus 21 here. So I'm going to pick Buckeyes against the spread. What's your pick?
100% on the same boat with you. If it wasn't for Indiana being lethargic with offense, I would totally take the over on this. Buckeyes can put points up in bunches, but unfortunately, I don't have the same confidence with Indiana. They just seem to be, they don't have the same magic they did early last season. So I'm going to say Ohio State covers their 21-point gap and they win the game by a healthy margin. Now let's move on to our spread. What is your spread pick this week, Nathan?
I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons minus 2.5. They traveled to Miami. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I forecast Dolphins with a little quarterback controversy. If forecast does become true, there's no way Tua's on the team. That means Jacoby Brissett's going to start, and not practicing with the team. So, the first team reps throughout the week. When you lose back-to-back weeks to two teams that haven't won a game all season, you're kind of in trouble. And I think they're in a dismal right now. I don't think they know who they are. Atlanta seems to be catching a little bit of fire. They're starting to really come around. They had a really impressive win in London against the Jets. And I think their offense is starting to click a bit. I like Atlanta. I do not like where Miami's at. I think 2.5 is a little favorable. I know it's in Miami, but trust me, it really doesn't matter where the Dolphins play. They're not very good. So I got Atlanta minus 2.5.
Actually, the Atlanta Dolphins game is my wild card pick, so to avoid redundancy. A lot of the same things you said. Atlanta's trending the right way, had a bye week. Miami's coming back from London. Simply put, Atlanta's going to put up more than 2.5 for their victory. So I'm picking them for my wild card.
Another great point there, real quick to interrupt. All the other London teams got a bye week. Miami did not. To fly back to London with all that jet lag, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the big reason why I took that for my wild card. Just seemed like an easy pick and get another point. And for my spread pick, I'm actually going to go against my beloved Eagles. I think the Raiders are going to beat them by more than 3 points. Raiders have shown they will get ahead, and Philadelphia shows flashes of having something going their way, but is a lot more of a running attack from their quarterback than good continuity on offense. Not that I take pride in this, but I think the Raiders win by more than 3 points this week, so that's my spread pick. Moving on to our over under. What do you have for your over under, Nathan?
For my over under, I'm going to go to a game that is going to look like a Big 12 game. Kansas City versus Tennessee. Two teams with pretty subpar defenses and pretty electrifying offenses. It's at 57.5. That's a college over under, and I'm going to pick the over here. You just saw what Tennessee did at Buffalo. And obviously Kansas City puts up points like crazy in bunches. Tennessee with Derrick Henry, man. If Buffalo couldn't stop them, Kansas City, the worst rush defense in the league, is not going to stop them. I'm going the over here. I know it's super high, 57.5. Watch, it can be like a 21-20 game, but
I'm on the same boat, actually. I have the same game. I picked the over for the Chiefs and the Titans. My page said 56.5, but even if it was 57.5, I would still go for it. Both teams, their weaknesses on defense plays to the other team's offensive strengths. Lots of points are going to be going both ways when either team tries to win. The majority of their games are over 30 points for that victory. Moving on to our money line. For me, this was really hard this week on the money line, but I'll let you go first, Nathan. What do you have for your money line?
my money line this week, this is kind of a crazy pick, and maybe I'm a victim of the moment. But I'm actually going to stick with that same game as I picked before. I'm going to pick Tennessee to upset Kansas City. I want to put money on this, but I think Tennessee beating Buffalo is huge. And I like a team that has, that's going to control the clock well, especially against like Kansas City, who has not a very good rush defense and turns the ball over a lot. And if you do those two things against Tennessee, it's hard to win because they can run the ball very well and control that clock. So something I want to bet on, but I could see happen. I got Tennessee beating Kansas City.
And not that we say to gamble or you should or anything like that, but we were talking off air. If you're just going to take a low flyer, those money lines for the Arizona and Rams games are pretty tempting to throw like a $5 towards. But again, not saying you should, but those numbers are outstanding if that upset were to happen. Not saying they will. For my money line, though, like I said, I'm not really in love with any of them, and I'm avoiding the whole double dipping on games tactic. And I'm going to just say a game. I don't think it'll come to fruition. I don't feel strong about this one, but Panthers at Giants, I'll say the Giants get some love at home, somehow manage through their injuries, and beat the Carolina Panthers for my money line. Moving on to our wild card. I'll let you do your wild card, Nathan, since I already jumped in and did mine, and then we'll jump into Sunday Night Football. Who do you have for your wild card?
My wild card is your money line. I need to do these underdog money line picks because I need to get those 2 points because I need to catch up to you. So I'm going to pick the Giants beating Carolina for my money line.
Excellent. Now moving on to Sunday Night Football. This one was a very interesting matchup with the Colts and Niners just because the teams seem to have different consistencies about themselves. And with the Niners, I think it looks like Garoppolo is going to be the guy this week. Maybe not. Um, I don't think you give defense as many headaches as they think they're going to after Trey Lance's rocky start in Arizona, but that's why you're a rookie and you get time to figure that out. But with Garoppolo playing against the Colts, 49ers Colts at San Francisco, I'm going with the over-under on this one. It's at 44.5. I think the game's going to easily go over that. So I'm going with the over. What do you have, Nathan?
Man, we're going to disagree here, which is fine. I'm actually going to go the under. This is an indie team that defense has been well improved the last couple of weeks, and I think it's going to cause San Francisco to struggle just a bit on offense, especially. I think Jimmy's, like you say, I think Jimmy's going to play, but maybe not 100%. So I think that's going to cause them to falter a bit. But then just Indy going all the way out west on a primetime game in San Francisco, I don't think is going to be super easy for them as well, and I think they might struggle to put up points because of that. So, I mean, a lot of people don't put up a lot of points to San Francisco. Philly only put up 11 on them. Arizona only put up 17 to them. So, if things are going well for them, they can really hold opponents to low-scoring games. So, I think this is going to be a lower scoring game, and I'm going to go with the under here. I know it's 44; it's pretty low, but I think both of these defenses are going to surprise each other a little bit, and I just don't trust either quarterback very well. So I'm going to do the under.
And we're going to put a wrap on to tonight's show. That's a wrap on the Week 7 picks as well as our NBA predictions. Don't forget to tune in to Nate's 8 to get some more predictions on this weekend's games. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We are the Sports Forecasters. You've been listening to Nathan Singer. I'm Nick Alvarez. We'll talk to you next time.